This is part 2 of the video called Little Jack Goes Through a Supreme Ordeal. The Ancient One asked, "So, how about you tell me about your strongest negative memories about Jordan, and we'll figure out together which reaction you had." Little Jack was primed and ready to go. He said, "Okay, there was this one time that Jordan was visiting me. His parents were away somewhere. Mom, Jordan, and I were going to the mall. I got in the front seat like I always do. Jordan started running his mouth about never getting to sit in the front seat. He even said he wouldn't get in the car until I moved. Finally, my mom made me get in the back seat. I slammed the door really hard and felt really mad all the way to the mall and back again." The Ancient One smiled with compassion. Then he started to say, "It sounds like—" I know, Little Jack interrupted. "I did the victim thing, but that was before I met you." The Ancient One probed a little deeper by asking, "So, which reaction type do you think you had?" Little Jack said, "Well, I guess since I didn't tell Mom or Jordan how I was feeling, I did the silent child thing. I suppose slamming the door hard was kind of what a rageaholic type might do. But since I just sat there and fumed all the way to the mall and back, I guess I was mostly just a silent child type. Is that right?" The Ancient One asked, "So, is it correct to assume that you gave them both the silent treatment?" Thinking back, Little Jack agreed. "I sure did, Ancient One." The Ancient One said, "Then I agree, Jack. That incident would certainly fit the silent child character type." The Ancient One then asked, "Which one do you think Jordan did?" Little Jack said, "Well, Jordan sure wasn't being silent. He yapped on and on about never getting to sit in the front seat, so he wasn't a silent child type at all. He didn't scream or yell, though, so he wasn't a rageaholic type either. So, I guess that only leaves a communicator type, but—" The Ancient One asked, "What is it, Jack?" Little Jack said, "Ancient One, I figured a communicator would be a positive thing, and Jordan wasn't being nice about it at all. He was fussing and whining and being stubborn by saying he wasn't going to get in the car unless he could sit up front." "Ah," the Ancient One murmured, "that is a good point. I believe I need to teach you about continuums." "Continue what?" Little Jack exclaimed. The Ancient One smiled and repeated, "Continuums. They are kind of like number lines." Little Jack said, "Well, I know what a number line is, but—" The Ancient One grabbed a short, stubby stick, bent over, and began drawing in the dirt. He said, "Okay, let me draw it for you. Then I have a feeling you will easily understand." This is what the old man drew. The Ancient One said, "Okay, let's put the silent child type on one end of the continuum. We'll put the rageaholic type on the other end of the continuum. The communicator type falls exactly in the middle." Little Jack, who was a smart boy, said, "Oh, I think I get it. When you are being totally positive, you fall right in the middle. But if you tell how you are feeling, but in a whiny, fussy, annoying way, you fall somewhere between the communicator type and the silent child type." "Exactly," agreed the Ancient One. Then he asked, "What about if you tell how you are feeling, but you yell and shout your words?" Little Jack replied, "Then you fall somewhere between the communicator type and the rageaholic." "Okay, I think when I slammed the car door, I fell between the communicator type and the rageaholic. The rest of the time, I was totally a silent child type. As for Jordan, his whining and fussing about never getting to sit in the front seat of the car put him somewhere between being a communicator type and a silent child type. Okay, I get this. The Ancient One asked, "Jack?" Little Jack asked, "Yes, Ancient One?" The Ancient One asked, "Why do you think Jordan said he never got to sit in the front seat?" Little Jack said, "Well, I guess it's because Aunt Trudy and Uncle Ralph always sat up front, and that left Jordan always having to sit in the back seat. Or at least, that was the way it was for me before Mom and Dad split up. Now I always get to sit up front." Little Jack thought for a moment. Then he said, "Oh, I get how to do one thing." The Ancient One asked, "What's that, Jack?" Little Jack said, "Jordan and I can make a deal when we go places with Mom. We can take turns sitting up in the front seat. I know I can be the communicator type with him about that. If I have to, I'll talk to Mom about it so that she'll make sure it is fair for both of us. I'll even let him have the front seat our first time out." The Ancient One said, "That's a great idea, Jack." The Ancient One then asked, "Are there other incidents you are concerned about?" Little Jack said, "Yeah. Last year I was visiting Jordan. One day he kept calling me names and hitting me." Pointing to the continuum, Little Jack said, "He was definitely being a rageaholic type. Finally, I got fed up. I turned into a rageaholic type right back, 'cause I jumped up and threw him down on the floor." The Ancient One asked, "What happened then, Jack?" Little Jack said, "Well, he's a lot bigger than me. Jordan scrambled up and threw me on the bed. He pinned me down so I couldn't move. I struggled to get up, but I couldn't. I was yelling quite a bit 'cause I was so mad. But after I calmed down, he finally let me up. Eventually we got over it and went to play basketball, but I was still kind of mad. As you can see, Jordan can be a real bully." The Ancient One said, "Yes, it sounds as if you both were giving in to being a rageaholic type for a while." The Ancient One then asked, "So, Jack, how will you handle Jordan now? I mean, you know much about how to be a good communicator. Will there be a way you can set firm boundaries with him without being either a silent child type or a rageaholic?" Little Jack said, "That's part of why I came to see you about, Ancient One. Plus, I'm worried about something else, too." The Ancient One asked, "What is it?" Little Jack said, "Well, Jordan's older than me. I'm kind of afraid that he's going to fit in better with Tom, Will, Big Jack, and those other guys than I do. What if he gets them to gang up on me and push me out? And what if Jordan gives in to Tom's peer pressure and then starts pressuring me? I just got things to the way I liked it with those guys. And now, with Jordan coming, he could ruin everything." The Ancient One sat and thought for a few moments. Then he said, "Jack, you indeed have many legitimate concerns. I can see that it will take a lot of patience and courage on your part to make things come out right." "Yeah," Little Jack agreed. "I hope I'm up to the task." The Ancient One said, "You will definitely need your warrior spirit to make certain you remain the master of your own life, instead of letting Jordan or the others master you. There is one ideal way you can do this." Little Jack said, "Please tell me. I certainly don't want anyone to master me and boss me around." The Ancient One said, "In other words, you want to win." Little Jack said, "Well, Yeah, I do. Is that so wrong? The Ancient One replied, No, there is nothing wrong with that. It is very human and normal to want to win. But is there any way you can work it so that Jordan can win too? Little Jack said, Well, uh, what do you mean? The Ancient One said, Okay, Jack. In any conflict between two people or two groups, there are three possible outcomes: lose-lose, win-lose, and win-win. In your past encounters with Jordan, it sounded like you two had a win-lose outcome. Little Jack interrupted. Yeah, you're right. Jordan won because he got to sit in the front seat. I lost because I had to move to the back. And he won because he pinned me down on the bed, and I lost again. The Ancient One reminded Little Jack of something. He said, Remember how you decided to work a deal with Jordan on how you will handle the car situation from now on? Little Jack said, Yeah. The Ancient One asked, Which outcome would that be, Jack? Little Jack said, Oh, yeah. That would be a win-win because we could both be happy. The Ancient One said, Exactly, Jack. And because it's a win-win outcome, it will probably continue to work as you both will get something out of it. So back to my original question. Is there a way that you can win on other encounters with Jordan and find a way that he can win too? Little Jack said, Well, Ancient One, I guess we could talk things through issue by issue as they come up. We could try to reach a compromise, or at least I hope we can. The Ancient One said, That's the winning spirit, Jack. I think that if you do that with Jordan from the first day he arrives, you can make things come right with the two of you. I have total confidence that you can do this great thing. Little Jack said, Thanks, Ancient One. I'll try. Still with much to think about, but feeling somewhat comforted, Little Jack walked back down the steep hill. He knew that he had received one of the biggest calls to adventure of his life so far. Since he had no choice but to accept this call, he was determined to make the most of things. His supreme ordeal might be really tough and a little bit scary, but Little Jack felt ready now. Little Jack thought, I'm gonna be a warrior and master and hero of my own life. I will not let Jordan goad me into doing that victim thing any more. I have a strong spirit, and I can do this. With a hopeful smile, Little Jack repeated, I just know I can. Thanks for listening to the story called Little Jack Goes Through a Supreme Ordeal.